Do you ever look at that shady corner of your garden and think, nothing will ever grow here? If you've been avoiding those low light spots, you're in for a surprise. Because believe it or not, there are vegetables that don't just tolerate shade, they actually thrive in it. That's right, you don't need a full sun backyard to harvest fresh, delicious crops. In fact, some vegetables prefer the gentle, filtered light because it keeps them from bolting, drying out, or becoming bitter. So today we're diving into 12 incredible vegetables you probably didn't even know could grow happily in the shadier parts of your garden. Stick around until the very end, because I'll also share a few gardener secrets to maximize your harvest in those tricky low-light areas. Spinach and lettuce, shade's best friends. When most people imagine a vegetable garden, they picture neat rows of plants basking under the full summer sun. But here's the secret that many new gardeners don't realize. Some vegetables don't actually like that scorching, blazing light. In fact, they thrive in cooler, shady spots where the soil doesn't dry out too fast and the leaves can stay tender. Spinach and lettuce are the perfect examples of this, and they are absolute champions for a shady garden. Let's start with spinach. Spinach is one of the earliest vegetables people have grown for centuries, and it has a reputation for being both incredibly nutritious and surprisingly adaptable. But the trick is this: spinach prefers cooler conditions. If you've ever tried to grow spinach in full summer sun, you probably saw it bolt, sending up a flower stalk and turning the leaves bitter almost overnight. That's because spinach is hardwired to survive by reproducing quickly when it feels stressed by heat. But in partial shade, especially in the warm months, spinach feels more comfortable. The soil stays cooler, moisture lasts longer, and the plant happily produces leaf after leaf without rushing to bolt. Gardeners who have discovered this trick often say their best spinach crops actually come from beds, tucked behind taller plants or on the shadier side of the garden. Now let's talk about lettuce. Lettuce is just as shade-loving, if not more so. Think about what lettuce is: a leafy green that's meant to be eaten tender, fresh, and crisp. That crispness comes from steady moisture and protection from the harsh midday sun. Lettuce wilts and gets bitter when it's forced to endure too much heat. But give it some gentle shade and it will reward you with sweet, delicate leaves that stay harvest-ready far longer than in full sun. This is why many expert gardeners purposely plant lettuce where taller crops, like tomatoes or beans, can provide a bit of dappled shade as a living canopy. Both spinach and lettuce also have shallow roots, which means they don't need deep, rich soil to thrive. Instead, they rely on a consistent supply of water and organic matter near the surface. In shaded gardens, evaporation is slower, so these greens get exactly what they need with less effort. That's one of the reasons they're considered shade's best friends. They not only tolerate lower light, but actually benefit from it in many cases. So if you have areas in your yard where sunlight only filters through for part of the day, under trees, beside a fence, or behind taller plants, those spaces aren't wasted at all. They're the perfect home for spinach and lettuce, two of the easiest and most rewarding crops you can grow. Truly, they are shade's best friends. Kale, the shade-tolerant powerhouse. Kale has become a superstar in the world of nutrition, often praised as a superfood, but many gardeners don't realize just how well it thrives in shaded conditions. Unlike many other vegetables that sulk without hours of blazing sunlight, kale is perfectly happy in partial shade. In fact, much like spinach and lettuce, kale's flavor and texture can actually improve when it's grown away from the harsh midday sun. One of the fascinating things about kale is its incredible resilience. It's a member of the Brassica family, related to cabbages and broccoli, and it has evolved to tolerate a wide range of growing conditions. While it certainly grows in full sun, too much heat can cause the leaves to toughen and even develop a slightly bitter aftertaste. When grown in shade, however, kale's leaves remain tender, sweeter, and more palatable for longer periods. This makes shaded areas in your garden the perfect spot to grow kale. It's both delicious and visually appealing. Shade-grown kale also has the advantage of lasting longer into the warm season. Gardeners in hot climates often struggle to keep kale going through the summer because direct sunlight and high heat cause the plants to stress and fade. But in a cooler, shaded corner, kale continues to push out fresh leaves, extending your harvest window. Some varieties, like curly kale and lacinato kale, even take on richer flavors when they're protected from too much light. Harvesting kale is also delightfully simple. You don't need to wait until the plant is fully mature. Instead, you can pick the outer leaves as they grow, leaving the center intact to keep producing. This cut-and-come-again method is perfect for home gardeners because it means your shady garden can supply a steady stream of nutrient-packed greens for your kitchen. So, while kale might be famous for superfood smoothies and hearty winter stews, don't overlook its ability to shine in your shadiest garden spots. With minimal effort, it becomes a lush, leafy, nutrient-dense crop that proves once again, shade is not a limitation, it's an opportunity. Swiss chard, the colorful shade performer. If you want a vegetable that not only grows beautifully in shade, but also adds a splash of vibrant color to your garden, Swiss chard is the perfect choice. Often overlooked by beginner gardeners in favor of spinach or kale, Swiss chard deserves much more attention. It's one of the most visually striking vegetables you can plant, with bold stems that come in shades of red, yellow, orange, and even bright pink, paired with deep green, glossy leaves. In partial shade, this plant doesn't just survive. It flourishes, creating a lush display that is both ornamental and edible. One of the best things about Swiss chard is its incredible adaptability. While many crops demand full sun to produce a worthwhile harvest, chard is content with less light, making it ideal for those shady corners of your garden that might otherwise go unused. The plant has a natural tolerance for a wide range of conditions, and unlike spinach, it doesn't bolt as quickly in warm weather. In fact, shady conditions help keep Swiss chard from becoming tough or overly bitter, allowing it to produce tender leaves for months at a time. Shade also enhances the quality of Swiss chard. In full, hot sun, the leaves can sometimes wilt or develop a slightly earthy bitterness. But under dappled or filtered light, the leaves stay supple, sweeter, and more enjoyable to eat raw. Many gardeners notice that their shade-grown chard has a milder flavor, making it perfect for salads, wraps, and smoothies, in addition to being a fantastic cooked green for sautés, soups, and casseroles. Here's a pro tip from experienced gardeners. Don't be afraid to plant Swiss chard densely in shady beds. Because the plants grow upright with broad but not sprawling leaves, they can be grown fairly close together, creating a lush, edible border. In fact, many gardeners mix Swiss chard into ornamental flower beds for its decorative look, while still enjoying the bonus of edible harvests. Shade-grown Swiss chard won't dominate your space, but will add structure, color, and productivity all at once. So, if you're looking for a plant that delivers both stunning aesthetics and practical, nutrient-packed harvests, Swiss chard is a must for your shady garden. It proves that vegetables can be both beautiful and bountiful. And when grown in shade, it becomes one of the easiest, most rewarding crops you'll ever plant. Arugula, the peppery green that loves the shade. Arugula, also known as rocket, is one of those leafy greens that carries a bold personality in the garden and on the plate. With its distinctive peppery bite, arugula is a favorite in salads, sandwiches, and gourmet dishes. But here's what many gardeners don't realize. Arugula absolutely thrives in partial shade, often performing even better there than in direct sun. This makes it a perfect choice for anyone with limited sunny space who still wants to enjoy fresh, flavorful greens. Why does arugula prefer a little shade? The answer lies in its natural growth cycle. Like spinach, arugula is a cool weather crop. In the heat and strong sunlight of summer, it tends to bolt quickly, sending up flower stalks and developing an overly sharp bitter flavor. But when grown in shade, the temperature around the plant stays lower, and the soil retains more moisture. This slows down the bolting process and allows arugula to keep producing tender, flavorful leaves for a much longer period. Essentially, shade stretches your arugula season, giving you more time to enjoy its fresh, peppery taste. One of the great advantages of arugula is how fast it grows. From seed to harvest, it can be ready in as little as 30 days. This means you can sow it in shady patches of your garden throughout the season for continuous harvests. Experienced gardeners often practice succession planting with arugula, sowing a small patch every couple of weeks. In shaded conditions, this approach works beautifully because each planting has more time before bolting, ensuring a steady supply of fresh leaves. Here's a tip from expert gardeners. Don't just plant arugula in your shady garden beds. Use it as an understory crop beneath taller vegetables. For example, planting arugula at the base of tomatoes, beans, or even corn provides it with natural shade as the taller plants grow. This companion planting strategy not only saves space, but also creates a natural microclimate that helps arugula thrive. So if you're looking to add a leafy green with bold flavor and quick results to your shady garden, arugula is a perfect choice. With its rapid growth, shade tolerance, and culinary versatility, it proves that even the smallest garden spaces can deliver gourmet rewards. Broccoli, shade's secret ally. When people think of broccoli, they often imagine large, sun-drenched fields filled with rows of green heads soaking up the daylight. And while broccoli does appreciate sunlight, it's actually far more shade tolerant than most gardeners realize. In fact, a bit of shade can make the difference between a plant that produces tough, bitter florets and one that rewards you with tender, flavorful harvests. That's why broccoli earns its place as a secret ally for shady gardens. One of the main challenges with growing broccoli is timing. Broccoli is a cool season crop, which means it prefers mild temperatures and tends to struggle when exposed to prolonged heat and full sun. Too much sun and warmth often lead to the plant bolting early, producing smaller heads or flowering before you've had a chance to harvest. This is where shade steps in as a game changer. By planting broccoli in a partially shaded spot, you reduce heat stress and extend the plant's growing period. The result: larger, denser heads with better flavor. Shade-grown broccoli has another advantage: improved texture. Harsh sun can cause the florets to become loose and the leaves to toughen. But in shade, the growth is steadier and more controlled. The plant develops compact, tighter heads that are both visually appealing and delicious. Many experienced gardeners notice that their best broccoli harvests often come from beds that receive only morning sun or filtered light throughout the day. On the kitchen side, broccoli from a shaded garden tends to have a milder, sweeter flavor compared to sun-stressed plants. This makes it even more versatile for cooking. Whether you steam it, roast it, or toss it into stir-fries, you'll notice the tender bite and less bitterness, which appeals to even the pickiest eaters. And of course, broccoli is one of the most nutrient-packed vegetables you can grow. Loaded with vitamin C, vitamin K, fiber, and antioxidants, like sulforaphane, it's a powerhouse for health. The beauty of growing it in shade is that you don't compromise any of those benefits. You only improve the plant's overall performance and taste. So, if you've ever struggled with broccoli bolting too quickly or producing disappointing harvests, consider giving it some shade. By taking advantage of cooler, less intense conditions, you'll transform broccoli into one of the most reliable crops in your shady garden. It truly is shade's secret ally, proving that even big, nutrient-rich vegetables don't always need the spotlight to shine. Cauliflower, thriving in cool, shady comfort. Cauliflower is often considered one of the more finicky vegetables to grow. And it's true, it requires just the right conditions to produce those dense, creamy white heads that every gardener dreams of. But here's a secret that experienced growers know. Cauliflower actually performs better with some shade. Too much direct sun and heat can stress the plant, causing it to grow small, uneven heads, or worse, to bolt before you get any harvest at all. When given the protection of partial shade, however, cauliflower thrives, developing larger, smoother, and tastier curds. One of the biggest challenges with cauliflower is maintaining consistent growing conditions. Unlike kale or chard, cauliflower doesn't bounce back easily from stress. High temperatures, fluctuating soil moisture, or excessive sunlight can all trigger problems. Shady areas of the garden naturally provide more stable conditions. Cooler air, slower evaporation, and less direct stress on the leaves and developing head. This means the plant can focus its energy on producing a high-quality harvest instead of fighting against environmental extremes. Experienced gardeners also point out that cauliflower benefits from cooler microclimates created by shade. In warm regions, growing cauliflower in full sun can be nearly impossible during certain seasons. But in partial shade, whether under taller crops, beside a fence, or in the shadow of a structure, cauliflower has the cool, calm environment it needs to flourish. Here's a pro tip. Plant cauliflower alongside taller companions like pole beans or corn, which provide natural shade while also maximizing space. This companion planting strategy not only protects cauliflower, but also creates a diverse, resilient garden ecosystem. So while many gardeners struggle with cauliflower and think of it as a tricky crop, the secret might be as simple as moving it to a shadier spot. With steady moisture, cooler temperatures, and some protection from harsh sunlight, cauliflower transforms from finicky to flourishing. It's the perfect example of how shade can turn a challenge into a success. Peas, climbing happily in the shade. Peas are often thought of as a sun-loving crop, but seasoned gardeners know they're surprisingly adaptable and actually perform very well in partial shade. These cool season climbers thrive when the heat is limited, and shaded spots provide a perfect microclimate that keeps the soil cool and the plants comfortable. This slower, steadier growth often results in sweeter, more tender pods, a delicious reward for your effort. One of the biggest advantages of growing peas in shade is their natural preference for cooler temperatures. Full sun in the late spring and summer can cause pea plants to become stressed, stop producing pods, or even bolt prematurely. Shade helps regulate temperature, allowing the vines to grow strong and healthy while continuously producing tender pods. Morning sun combined with afternoon shade is often ideal, giving peas just enough light to photosynthesize without overheating. Peas are also excellent for making the most out of vertical space. With their climbing habit, they don't require a large horizontal footprint, making them perfect for shady corners where ground space is limited. Trellises, fences, or even poles can guide their growth upward, maximizing production while keeping the plants well ventilated. Experienced gardeners often train peas to grow in dappled light under taller crops, creating an efficient, layered garden where every plant benefits from shade without being crowded. Harvesting peas in shade is simple and rewarding. Regular picking encourages continuous production, and because shaded peas grow more slowly, the harvest window is extended. Instead of getting a quick burst of pods followed by decline, shaded peas often provide consistent yields over several weeks. This steady output is a huge advantage for home gardeners seeking reliable, flavorful produce. Nutritionally, peas are small but mighty. Packed with vitamins A, C, K, and plant-based protein, they offer excellent health benefits in addition to their culinary versatility. Shade doesn't diminish these qualities. It actually promotes healthier, less stressed plants, which means better quality and taste in your kitchen. So, if you've been avoiding planting peas in shaded corners, it's time to rethink that strategy. With the right support, cooler soil, and filtered light, peas can climb happily and produce abundant, sweet pods. A perfect combination of practicality, flavor, and garden efficiency. Celery, shade's crispy superstar. Celery is often underestimated by beginner gardeners because it's seen as a fussy crop, but seasoned gardeners know that it's actually one of the best vegetables for shady gardens. This crisp, refreshing plant thrives in cool, partially shaded environments where the soil remains consistently moist. In full sun, celery can quickly become tough, stringy, or stressed, but in shade, it grows slowly and steadily, producing tender, flavorful stalks that are perfect for fresh salads, cooking, or even juicing. One of the main reasons celery excels in shade is its natural preference for moisture and cooler conditions. Native to wetlands, celery is accustomed to environments where water is abundant, but temperatures are moderate. Shaded garden beds mimic these conditions better than fully sunny plots, keeping the plant happy and stress-free. Shade slows down evaporation, which helps the soil retain the consistent moisture celery needs to thrive. Experienced gardeners often enrich the soil with compost or organic matter to further enhance moisture retention and provide the nutrients celery demands. Celery is also a slow-maturing crop, often taking several months to reach full size. In sunny, hot gardens, rapid heat can cause it to bolt or produce tough stalks before it reaches maturity. Partial shade mitigates this problem by regulating temperature and slowing growth slightly, allowing the plant to develop full, crisp stalks with superior flavor. This is why shade is often recommended for celery, especially in regions with hot summers or unpredictable weather. Celery is also incredibly versatile in the kitchen. Shade-grown celery has a delicate, sweet flavor that enhances soups, stews, and stir-fries, while also remaining crisp enough for fresh snacking or salads. Its nutritional profile is impressive too. Celery is low in calories but high in fiber, potassium, vitamin K, and antioxidants. Growing it in shade doesn't diminish these benefits. It often enhances the overall quality by reducing plant stress. Here's an expert tip. Celery pairs well with companion plants in shady beds. Consider planting it alongside leafy greens, peas, or even shade-tolerant herbs. These combinations not only optimize your garden space, but also create a microclimate that supports steady growth for all involved crops. In short, If you have a garden corner that never seems to get enough sunlight, don't overlook celery. Its ability to thrive in cool, moist, shaded conditions, combined with its crisp texture and versatile flavor, makes it a true superstar of the shady garden. With a little patience and proper soil care, this often overlooked vegetable can become one of your most rewarding crops. So there you have it. 12 perfect vegetables you probably didn't know could thrive in a shady garden. Shade doesn't have to be wasted space. With the right plants, you can turn it into a lush, productive corner full of greens, roots, and cool weather crops. And here's a little bonus. Experienced gardeners know that shady gardens also mean less watering, fewer weeds, and often fewer pests. So don't fight the shade. Embrace it and let it work for you.